Okay. Like I said, we have plenty of stuff to go over today, but here's the first thing I want to hit on. What is that?
Well,
what is that?
Well,
So,
for those of you that are listening and not watching, what Mike is asking with what is that is we have a graphic up of what was probably the biggest bombshell trade that did happen, in which the LA Clippers received former All-Star point guard Darius Garland and a future second-round pick in exchange for James Harden. So James Harden being traded once again, and this time to Cleveland.
Yeah.
So, Mike, while I reside in LA, you are Mr. Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to allow you to begin your chat about James Harden now joining the Cavs and Darius Garland going to LA.
Okay, so Josh, this is going to sound as weird as any sports take maybe ever.
You with weird sports takes? I would have never imagined
There's no way. Yeah, I know. It doesn't make sense.
No.
I think so. Okay. I hate this move for Cleveland. I hate it. Genuinely hate it. However, I think it probably puts them in finals contention. So if you want anything more contradictory.
Yeah, you're going to need to elaborate a little bit with that.
Okay. So here's the thing. I am 100% certain that today, okay, James Harden is a better basketball player than Darius Garland. He is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think Darius Garland is very good. He's an all-star. I would say borderline all-star given
he's been an all-star, I think, twice.
Right. But given the saturation of top-level players in the NBA, I think he's a fringe all-star rather than a bona fide every year sort of perennial all-star. But Darius Garland also, and listen, I love him. I have zero ill will towards Darius Garland at all. I think he's a good ball player. I think he is going to crush it with the Clippers. I really do. And I hope, honestly, that maybe his Cleveland career isn't completely over. Like I would more than welcome him back in the future. I love Darius Garland. But multiple things can be true at the same time. Darius Garland was a oft-injured, streaky player who was not a good defender, right? Okay. Those things are all true about Darius Garland. I think in the grand scheme of things, James Harden is a nice add for Cleveland if what you are getting is his stat line. If you are getting James Harden's 24, 25 points a game with 8-9 assists, then it's a good ad. If you're getting James Harden, who, and I understand the comparisons between Garland and Harden in the playoffs and all that stuff, I understand all that. If you are getting Harden's bottom line inefficiency and you are getting his ego and everything else that comes with him, it shatters everything else. So that was the thing. If James Harden's name was not James Harden and he had any other background than what he has with his stat line, it's a great move for the Cavs. If the Cavs were adding a 25 point per game, near 10 assist player for Darius Garland and a second round pick, Cavs fans would be jumping through the roof. That is a superstar point guard to add to a backcourt with Donovan Mitchell, which could arguably be made as the best backcourt in all of basketball. I think you could absolutely make that case. But because it's James Harden, there's so much more that comes with it. So I think this is maybe, not only do I think, is it the most, like, attention grabbing, right? this might have been the biggest trade of the deadline, but it's also the most polarizing because this trade by itself, not can, it will make or break the Cleveland Cavaliers. It will make or break them. They will either excel to a point where we haven't seen from them, or this thing is going to completely implode. And Harden is going to want to leave, and Donovan Mitchell's going to want to leave, and Cleveland turns into a team that needs to start over again. That's my take. Listen, in the Eastern Conference, Josh, there are 3 teams I believe in. 3. After the trade deadline, there's 3 teams I believe in. The Cavs, the Pistons, and the Knicks. Those are the only teams I believe in right now. But the Cavs could turn this around in a hurry because of James Harden in either direction. So that's my thing. I'm nervous. I hate it. But I think they could be the finals favorites in the East.
You and I, whenever we have big points, most of the time we actually agree, and sometimes for different reasons.
I can't wait for this.
I think you are incredibly wrong.
Okay.
I think the Cavs have self-destructed already.
Wow. Really?
And the reason that I think that is one thing that you haven't brought up. On paper, yes, James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, looking at their stats, this is the most dominant backcourt in the NBA. Look at their points per game and what they produce. They produce that because they always make sure they have the ball in their hands. With both of them on the same team, only one of them can have the ball in their hands. And when it comes to the big games, track record shows it should be Donovan Mitchell because he has delivered in the playoffs.
Yeah, he has.
We know James Harden has never, no matter what team he's been on. So there's going to be a run when he gets acclimated. We're all of a sudden Cleveland's going to win like 7 or 8 in a row and look amazing. Harden's going to be having a blast. He's going to look in good shape. He's suddenly going to have a 25-12 game, and Donovan's going to have a 35 game, and Evan Mobley's going to somehow have a triple-double, and it's going to be like, oh, my God, Cleveland's going to be the team to beat. And then they'll get to the second round of the playoffs where James Harden forgets how to play basketball. And that always then puts a giant negative impact on the players around him. That impacted Westbrook and Chris Paul when he played with them in Houston. That impacted the Clippers. That has impacted any other team. That impacted Brooklyn. That impacted every team that James Harden has gone to. James Harden cannot deliver when the games matter. And when you need your Hall of Fame, All-Star, top All-NBA player the most. And when you look at the grand scheme of things with Cleveland, like you said, and the East is completely up for grabs this year. Any of these teams that you named could win it. And you know what? Boston is still in it. Orlando can still make their way in it. Toronto can still make their way in it. And on paper, Cleveland's got an all-star starting 5 now. I mean, they already had one. Now it's all-star starter starting 5. And it's going to blow up. Why? Because it's James Harden. I mentioned last week how I love being proven wrong, and Sam Darnold has done that for me in the NFL. James Harden has had chance after chance after chance after chance to prove not just me wrong, but anyone who follows the NBA wrong, that he can deliver in big games. And anytime you put him with top talent that is just as high or sometimes higher than him, he dismantles everything and makes it all fall apart. Cleveland is going to end up being maybe the 2 seed in the East going in the playoffs, and they will lose in the second round because that's what James Harden does. And then they will look to trade him again and bring in LeBron for his farewell season.
That I think is going to happen. That I genuinely think is going to happen. They'll bring in LeBron for one more year next year.
Yeah. But do you see LeBron playing with James Harden? I don't.
Well, listen, I think here's the thing is I think you're right. I think the way you're looking at it is the way that I am most fearful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because like I said, this will undoubtedly make the Cavs better. It will. It just will. Okay. By the time the playoffs come around, the Cavs will be a top 2 or 3 team in the East. I have zero doubt about that. But like I said, and I don't disagree with you, that this could absolutely be viewed by most people as a desperate move by Cleveland, saying, okay, like this clearly right now, we're going to try and get ahead of this before it's too late, right? God knows we only have Donovan Mitchell for maybe a year or two more. You know, we want him to be here forever, but the NBA is weird, okay?
Case in point today.
Right. So we want him to be here forever, but God knows how long we'll actually have him for. And we need to do something that'll potentially put us over the hump. Now, if you're looking at it, and the Cavs got made fun of, for the last couple of days for this, if you're looking at it through a clear lens, you're asking yourself, why is James Harden the player you bring in if you're trying to get over the hump?
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand that. I really do. My thing is that James Harden has a shot to be exactly what the Cavs need. But he also, like you said, has a shot to be the thing that wrecks the entire franchise. Okay?
Yep.
There is a world, Josh, and I know that a lot of people are going to call me insane for saying this, especially some of our buddies at the GRYD Network.
They call you insane for far more than whatever you're about to say.
Listen, I've been called worse, and I've said worse. Okay, but I have been told so many times that there's no shot this will work. There is a world that we live in, Josh. There's a world that we could live in where James Harden puts them over the top. That's all I'm going to say. There is a world we can live in where James Harden actually works. There's also a world, like I said, where it completely falls apart.
Before we touch on the other one, I want to make sure we also still mention one thing with Darius Garland, though, and what he does for the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, he does not maybe score as many points per game as James Harden will, but you have an all-star caliber point guard that is 10 years younger for the Clippers than James Harden. The Clippers, who were the oldest team in the league, now actually have a facilitator that they can help build around because they could potentially keep him for a long period of time based on his age. I honestly think this was a good move for the Clippers moving forward. They clearly decided, even though they've been on this run the last month that we've touched on this show, they clearly decided, oh no, we got to completely try to rebuild and refuel. And this was an excellent move for the Clippers, in my opinion.
Listen, we talked about it a while ago.
Yeah.
Of like, what in the world could the Clippers get for James Harden?
Mm-hmm.
And we were thinking, there's no way anybody would still take him. And now, of course, I have to eat my own hat because, of course, my team was the one that took him. But they end up with Darius Garland in this. Like, that's a real win for the Clippers. Like, I don't know that anybody could look at this as like an L trade for the Clippers. They absolutely made out on that deal. They did. James Harden, a 36-year-old James Harden on a massive contract.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring in Darius Garland and a second round or whatever. But you bring in Darius Garland. That's real. That's a legit thing.